I don't care who you are, you do not have a right to do it. I don't have to explain why, that's common decency, and if you do that, you're a disrespectful transphobic piece of shit.
Just a tip to all trans activists, don't tell people what to do, what to say, or how to think. That's not your job. Something I've been wanting to talk about for a long time is a term you hear a lot in the trans community, and it's the term deadnaming. A dead name is a trans person's previous name, and they call it a dead name because trans activists think that the old version of a trans person is dead. So when you're deadnaming someone, you're misgendering them, and that's a big no-no according to trans activists.
I'm going to refer to them as what their parents named them. You can't just change your name on a whim. Oh yeah? Who is this? Bruno Mars, what do you mean? No, I'm sure you meant to say Peter Jean Hernandez. It's fine though, let's just keep going. Her? Demi Moore. Wrong. How about this one? It's Walking Phoenix. Oop, wrong again. Who cares if that's the name they were born with? We're calling them what they've asked us to call them. Oh, so you do know how to call people by their preferred names. What? And the names that they would like to be referred to, you have no problem at all. Except when it's trans people. Well, that's not what it sounds like is that you actually have no problems referring to people by what they prefer. You just don't see trans people as deserving enough respect.
I see what you did here, but you're still wrong. The reason why we call the singer Bruno Mars is because we're used to it. And that's kind of the essence of the argument, I don't want to call you by your new name. It's because that person was used to, for so many years, to call them their birth name. It's all about adjustment. We all know that Lady Gaga's real name is not Lady Gaga. It's Stephanie. But it would be weird to us to call her Stephanie. We would forget it because we're so used to calling her Lady Gaga. No matter what, you can't really compare the trans experience to other things. It's a very, I hate to say it, but unique experience. I think it's so embarrassing that you are so busy policing other people's language. Stop.
A dead name is a trans person's birth name, and it's on all their legal documents until they decide to change their name. The word dead is used because it's no longer in use. Many trans people, like myself, do not identify with their birth names for many reasons. It can make some people feel uncomfortable, like they aren't themselves, like they're just being pressured by their parents, and much more. It is not okay to call a trans person by their dead name for any reason, especially when you know their correct name. And it's not okay to say things like, well, it's your birth name, so that's your name. Well, I knew you as blank. I like blank better. It's hard to remember your new name. Can I just call you blank? Only a trans person can share their dead name. A cis person or another trans person cannot share that. I don't care who you are, you do not have a right to do it. I don't have to explain why, that's common decency, and if you do that, you're a disrespectful transphobic piece of shit. Dead naming someone is using somebody's dead name. This can be deliberately or not. Especially in the beginning, it can slip somebody else's mind, and they can dead name a trans person. Instead of making a big fuss, just say sorry, their name, and continue speaking. A trans person's correct name isn't something to be mocked. Our correct names aren't jokes, and they deserve to be respected like you.
Why do people think that they become smarter by speaking really fast and edit really poorly? I don't get it. It's not true that the only reason why you call it a dead name is because the name is no longer in use. It's because the rhetoric is that the old version of that person is dead. I made a post about this on my YouTube channel and my Instagram, and I still stand by what I said. I am still that girl. I am still the same person I was many years ago. There's only one person in that picture. It's, of course, pseudo-religious to think otherwise. It's pseudo-religious to think that you can become another person. You're still you, even though you transition. And that's why I have such a big problem with the term dead name. Nobody's dead. The irony that someone is a piece of shit if they don't respect you. The trans community is gatekeeping who's a good person. And according to them, you are a good person as long as you just obey them 100%. Not 99, but 100%. If you don't, or you just disagree with one tiny thing, you're a bad person, you're a piece of shit, you're a scum on earth. And that's why the LGBT acceptance is decreasing. Just a tip to all trans activists, don't tell people what to do, what to say, or how to think. That's not your job.
Dead naming is when you call a transgender person by their birth name. And here's the reason why it could be offensive or insensitive.
Being offended has nothing to do with gender dysphoria, has nothing to do with transsexualism. It has everything to do with being an activist and being a fake transsexual because they don't know what gender dysphoria feels like. To be dysphoric about something is not in any way the same as being offended.
Names play an integral part in transitioning because for some, it's the first step into becoming the person that they've always wanted to be. For some, names are linked with their personal traumas and bad experiences, so that's why it could be a little bit insensitive if you call them by that name, because that may trigger their anxiety and depression.
I'm not going to assume what this person believes in, but in general, the trans community will not acknowledge that gender dysphoria is a mental disorder. They don't want to do that because they think it's going to stigmatize these people, but also because then it limits on how you can be a transsexual person, and then that will invalidate a lot of non-binary people. And that's very sad for these people because then they can't claim to be in an oppressed minority group. Ya haram. But at the same time, the trans community claims that you can trigger someone's trauma, anxiety, and depression, which are mental disorders. And I think they acknowledge that experience so we can look even more like victims. The mechanism that makes someone trans is the mental disorder gender dysphoria. It's not something you choose to feel. It's extremely painful. So what's wrong with acknowledging that? If they acknowledge that some of us experience depression and anxiety, why not acknowledge the entire reason why we're trans?
When I was born with a different name. Meaning this. When I lived as a guy, that whole life is gone. It's dead. That person is no longer here. When I say people dead name me, it means people are referring to me as my old self. That's why you never ever want to dead name a transgender person. Because that's going to trigger their dysphoria and it's going to put them in a very bad state. Like when people dead name me, who used to know me before I transitioned, it really sets me off. Because that part of me, that guy, that's gone. He's dead. This is who I am. Haley.
It's true that real transsexual people feel extremely dysphoric when someone calls them by their birth given name. I'm obviously very open about my transition, my past, and my life in general, but the only thing I don't want to talk about is my birth name. I will answer any other question in the world, except for what is your old name? When I used to work as a barista, and I had to call out this name, I would have a physical reaction. I would feel dizzy, nauseous. It's very dysphoric to me, obviously. I'm just gonna repeat myself. No one is dead. It's a misconception that you have to unalive the old version of yourself in order to be happy now. I think it's beautiful to acknowledge I'm the same person. I'm just a better version of myself today, or a happier version of myself today. That's all you need to do. The last TikTok I'm gonna show you all is something that is so bizarre. It's a mom who's getting a cover-up tattoo because her daughter is now non-binary and has a different name. My mom got a tattoo 20 years ago to celebrate her 2 children. Since then, I've come out as non-binary and changed my name. Today she covered up the tattoo with my dead name and replaced it with my real name. Oh my god. Being non-binary is a phase, it's a trend that we see in our culture right now, so I feel really bad for her mom's back, or shoulder, because in 5 years, she's gonna change that again. Ouch. The theme of my channel is mental health, and I want all people to feel comfortable in their own skin. I don't think you will feel comfortable in your own skin by, of course, denying reality, as I talk about all the time, but also to say that the old version of yourself is dead, and it's not you. You have to embrace who you are. You have to own it. There's no reason to be ashamed of it. There's no reason to deny it. Just be you, and be happy. Thank you all for watching this video. If you want to see more content like this, remember to like this video, hit subscribe, and the notification bell. As always, leave a comment down below. I'm always curious to know what you think. If you want to support me, you can do it with a small donation under Super Thanks, and it would help me out a lot, so thank you. And I'll see you all in my next video. Peace out.